YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my Week 5 NFL score predictions and picks against the spread here every Wednesday with this video. Week 5 straight up picks with the other guys, always a fun time. That's up on the channel already. Power rankings already up as well. We have loads of content every single week, always adding more. It's a list. There's a list of it in the bottom left. You can check it out. Follow us on Twitter. We got extra content on there. Links pinned in the comments for that. And our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, have the Buffalo Bills helmet chain on from the GLD Shop. They got more where that came from. We have a giveaway going on with them. Links pinned in the comments for all of that and some other key things there. So check it out. So we're going to go game by game with my score prediction. And we'll talk about the line, but we'll recap all my against the spread picks at the end of this video. So it is the Bears plus 5.5 at the Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football, and I have the Commanders winning, and I do have them just covering that spread as well. It is a little tricky. I almost wanted to go originally I wanted to go the Commanders winning by even more because not only do I think they're easily the better team, but I think the matchup does favor them, but part of me thinks the Bears could be a little sneaky. They got some offense going last week, but it was against probably the worst defense in football. But could they continue off that? And there was a primetime game in the middle of the year last year against the Patriots where the Bears kind of just completely changed their offense, and it really was a game plan nightmare because there was no game plan for it in a game they were definitely supposed to lose against the Patriots defense, Patriots and their defense. So could something like that pop up again in a game here? It could. I'm not really counting on it, though. Again, the Commanders are home. They're the better team. I like the way they match up because their defense has been struggling a little bit. It's because their mainly the linebacker group, but the secondary hasn't been too great. Kendall Fuller's really been only the bright spot there. And their defensive line's great, but the Bears just haven't really been able to get something consistent going on offense. A good stretch in the first half last week was about it. And I think the Commanders' defensive line will feast on Justin Fields in this game. They should be able to. And the Commanders been very explosive on offense. The Bears' defense has been one of the weaker ones in football. I think the Commanders could just pound the ball all day and win that way at Brian Robinson Jr., but we'll see them air the ball out as well. And Howell, when he struggles, when he turns the ball over, it's when he's under a ton of pressure. The Bears really don't have that pressure, so everything is kind of siding towards the Commanders. Where the Commanders could use their strengths, they can use them. Where their weaknesses are, they're really not existent for the Bears. So I love the matchup for the Commanders. I have them winning 26-17 and covering the spread on Thursday Night Football. Next game is the Jaguars plus 5.5 against the Bills. It is in London. The Bills are considered the home team, but it is in London, and it almost feels like the Jaguars are the home team because they're used to playing in London. It's almost like their second home, and they were there last week. I think that creates an advantage for the Jacksonville Jaguars where they're able to stay there. They're kind of used to it. The Bills have to fly there, so I think that creates an unfair advantage for the Jaguars, actually, and they are a good team. On top of it, the Bills look like the best team in the AFC right now, like easily look like the best team in the AFC. Both sides of the ball, you can argue, too. Very impressive. So I still got to ride with the Bills. The Jags could win because they're a good team. They started to pick it up last week. The Bills haven't really seen this defense. Not that the Jags have the best defense in the world, but they saw the Jets, who were better in week 1, and they struggled against them. Then they played Raiders, Commanders, and Dolphins, who were all very much struggling defenses. So this is not a struggling defense. They played very well last week. They played very well against the Chiefs, and they have the advantage of the London situation. So the Jags could win this game. They could win this game because of it. Tre'Davious White knocked out for the rest of the year last week, which is unfortunate. So another advantage for the Jags. They could win this game. It's just tough to pick against the Bills right now. Again, they're incredibly balanced. They're playing very well on both sides of the ball. I think Josh Allen's a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much for the Jags. I have them winning 26-23, but then the Jags winning against the spread with that 5.5 there. And again, we'll recap all those against the spread picks at the end and show you my record on the year. Next, the Texans and Falcons. So I'm excited about this week for my picks because there's a lot of underdogs that I think should not be underdogs, and this is one of them. Of course, the Falcons could win the game, but they're on a 2-game losing streak. Texans are on a 2-game winning streak. The Texans are looking like a really good football team right now. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to keep going. The Falcons' defense has improved from the past, but you got to worry about the pass game with the Texans. You got to worry about the run game. So they're really tough to game plan for right now. And the Falcons don't present a crazy pass rush, for the Texans for Stroud to be have his first struggle really of the year. I don't really see that. He's getting some offensive linemen back as well. And then defensively, D'Amico Ryans calls a hell of a defense. He knows how to game plan. The Falcons could win with their run game. It is a dangerous, dangerous run game. If they win, I'm going to think it's because of that. But I think D'Amico Ryans going to have a really good game plan here. He knows that the Falcons don't present much of an issue through the air, so the game plan will be for the run. Doesn't mean they'll stop it completely, but they could limit it compared to what you think may happen. So I'm going to go with the Texans. I think the matchup favors them. I think they're the better team. They're the better team right now. 20-17 Texans. It is in Atlanta. They could run to victory, and they are -2. They are favored by 2 points right now, but tough to go against the Texans here. So we'll see. But it's gonna be a close game. 20-17. What I got? I think mainly defense. The Texans are tough to stop right now. But the Falcons could get some interior pressure. I think Jesse Bates could have a solid game. AJ Terrell, maybe limit them a little bit. But I think mainly a lot of running clock. So I don't think it's going to be poor offense, really. I think the Texans will still run the ball with their running back duo, and the Falcons definitely will run the ball. A lot of running clock, which will keep the score a little lower than maybe what you think. 2017 Texans would have, and obviously covering the spread. They are underdogs. Panthers, Lions. I'm very confident with the Lions in this game. Much better team. They're at home, and the matchup favors them. The Panthers are really struggling. Bottom 2 team in the league right now. The Vikings were the worst rushing team in football, and they ran well, against the Panthers even. So that's not a great sign for the Panthers in general. But the Lions can win in multiple ways. But what they do best, I think, is pounding the football, wearing you out, like just completely wearing you out. So the Lions will do that. They'll, at home, they'll run the ball to Montgomery. I would expect Gibbs to be used a little bit more, not than Montgomery, but more than he's been being used. Get him going. They're going to run with, very, very successfully, and they're going to run a lot of clock. They're going to score points. They're going to limit the Panthers' chances. And the Panthers would need a lot of chances as it is, anyways. The Lions' defense is improving. The run defense is very much improved. The pass rush is improved. You can air it out on them, perhaps. So I need to see Bryce Young and these receivers stretch the field a little bit more. I just don't think they have it in them, especially with the Lions' front improving and how they're going to limit the Panthers' chances because they'll be able to throw on the Panthers. They're just not going to need to. They're going to pound the football, wear the Panthers out, wear the clock down. I love the matchup for the Lions. They're the much, much better team. They're at home. 27-13. I got them. 9's a lot. It's a lot, but I got them covering. I just don't see – it's going to be a major surprise if this game's close, like really close, or the Lions somehow lose. I mean, it's the NFL. There's going to be upsets here and there, but that would be actually concerning just because of how much better they are and how much the matchup favors them in this one. So I'm very confident with the Detroit Lions in this one, who look like the clear favorites in the NFC North, and the Panthers – even though they were close, they struggled in different ways they shouldn't have against another NFC North team last week. So this one's going to be tough for them. Next, this is a really good one. Tough one to pick. The Titans make it so tough to pick because they're like every other, like in away and home. They almost like dominant at home, and then they struggle away. It just seems like a classic Titans thing. Once you get like really high on them, they kind of blow it. So that's kind of a reason to pick against the Titans. There really isn't a whole lot of logic. Like I'm usually like a matchup guy, either better team or matchup guy. I think the Titans are the better team. It's still kind of to be determined though. It's kind of up in the air on that. But I guess the reason the matchup could favor the Colts is they're at home. The Titans struggle maybe away. It's still to be determined on that too. And the Colts' weakness is teams that kind of just air it out on them downfield. The Titans don't do a whole lot of that, but you can argue that the Titans are winning games without that. So if they're able to add that on top of the the Colts will probably stack the box against the run. So you can actually argue the Titans might have more downfield action to passing game because of the matchup. So there's a little bit of matchup that sides with the Colts. The main thing is they're at home against the Titans, but I think most of the actual, on the field, I like the Titans. Their run game is very tough right now. It's like different in a way because they have Tyjae Spears. When he's on the field, it's usually when Derrick Henry's off, it's like, all right, they're passing, but not anymore. But they could pass. They could run to Spears. They could pass to Spears. They could pass to somebody else. It's a little tricky, and it looked really good against a good defense in the Bengals last week. And again, the pass game could be open a little bit because the Colts are struggling in the secondary. But the Colts' pass rush is pretty solid, and that can cause some problems for the Titans' front. But they should get Skoronski back. Nicholas Petit-Frere as well, but will he be in the starting lineup is kind of the question. And I do like the Titans front. They're consistently the best or one of the best run defenses in football. And the Colts, I think, open things up starting with the run. They'll run the ball with their quarterback Richardson or their running back Moss. Could Taylor be back this week? Some talk about it. There was originally reports that he won't be ready. That he won't be ready this week. But the Titans are going to shut down the run, which will make it difficult to open up other things as well. Richardson shows some moments that he has upside. Still love the upside, but he's a little inaccurate with the ball still. He's going to have to hit those throws because that's how you beat the Titans defense. You do not beat them running on them. You do not. But Richardson's a different style running. The Titans are just shutting down running backs, so that could be the difference maker there. But it's going to be a really good game. I think the Titans are slightly the better team, and I like the matchup slightly more for them. It's going to be a really good game, though. If the Titans lose this one, it's going to be tough for me to pick them away. I like them at home still. And this is a big one for the Colts, too, because I'm still trying to figure out the Colts' identity, and this is around the time where you've kind of figured that out. First few weeks usually misleading. First half of last week's game looked like one of the worst teams in football. The second half, it looked pretty damn good. So what are we getting from the Colts here? We will see. So I'm excited to learn a little about both these teams a little bit this week. Next, we got the Giants and the Dolphins. 30-17 is what I got. It's a big spread of 11, but I do have the Dolphins covering that. It is a terrible matchup for the Giants. It is a perfect matchup for the Miami Dolphins. Let me tell you this. If the Dolphins were 1-3, to flip the records, if the Dolphins were 1-3 right now and the Giants were 3-1, I would be picking the Dolphins still in this game because I would know what they're capable of with the talent, even though they're 1-3. But the matchup in Miami, first off, Miami's a tough place to play at this time of the year because it's still scorching hot or close to there. And the way the stadium is, the sideline difference, everybody knows by now. So Miami Dolphins have an incredible home field advantage. They are the better team, the much better team than the struggling New York Football Giants. But the matchup favors them because the Dolphins torch man coverage. They absolutely torch it. Every time somebody runs it against them, you're like, what the hell are they doing? Why are you running man coverage against these speedy receivers and Tua? They just continue to look like the best offense in the league when they play against it, and the Giants are all man coverage. They do mix in a little cover three, maybe more of that this week, but they built their roster, they built their defense out of man coverage guys. But they're still just outmatched completely. The Giants have a shot to get some offense going. I would hope more than the 3 points they scored last week, because the Dolphins' defense is very much struggling, which is a little bit of a surprise. But it looks pretty bad. And the Giants could be getting Saquon back. I'd imagine so. And they could get Andrew Thomas back. So that can kind of give them a boost with offense, with pass protection, run blocking, running the ball, even passing game, Barkley catching the ball. Because he quite honestly could be their best receiver, which is pretty wild as a running back. So the Giants actually, that would be my argument that this game stays closer in this is that it just be a shootout and the Giants actually score. But they played a weak defense last week and they were god awful. And I know the talent could be a little better if guys come back, but the better team in Miami, tough place to play it in the matchup, all says the Dolphins. If this game's even close, if it's close, it could be because the Dolphins' defense is struggling. It's a shootout. But if the Dolphins somehow lose this game, lose back-to-back, I'm actually concerned. I would actually be concerned. I would be thinking the first 3 weeks were completely a lie for the Dolphins, and there's a lot of times where just in the NFL in general, that's the case. I'm not saying it's the case with the Dolphins, but if they lost this game because it's such, not only are they the better team, they're in such an advantage because of the matchup. So there is a concern for sure if they somehow lose this game. I just don't see it. I just really don't see it. I even have them covering that spread of 11. That is, I usually don't bet on those big of spreads. If you get an alternate line, bring it down in single digits, a little bit even further down, I feel really comfortable about that. This is a really good game. Saints and Patriots. Really good in terms of close, but because of the same team right now. It's what it feels like. The Saints have struggles on offense. They just can't really get consistent drives going, consistent points going. They kind of rely on their defense. The Patriots, it's the same exact thing. Maybe they're a little bit more turnover potential from the Patriots, but they are the same exact teams right now. The Patriots are favored by 1. They're at home. I can see it, but I'm leaning towards the Saints in a squeaker, 17-16. But I'm leaning towards the Saints because they're the same teams right now. Then you factor in the Patriots are missing 2 top players with Matthew Judon, their best defensive player. He's out. Christian Gonzalez, their best corner. He is out. factor that in. Factor in, again, same team, similar issues, similar strengths right now. I like the Saints have Kamara, which the Patriots don't have. The Saints have Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. Hell, they might have a guy like Rashid Shaheed that they don't have. The Patriots don't have. I think Carr's better than Mac Jones right now. Both offensive lines are struggling. I think the Saints are better. Defensively, it would be an argument. You probably would lean Patriots, but Judon and Christian Gonzalez out. I'm leaning Saints. So even they're even matchups and everything kind of sides to the New Orleans Saints in this one. So it's hard for me to not go them, but that doesn't mean I think it's going to be an easy victory, obviously. I think it'll be very tight, very low scoring. I even thought about less than this, 16-14, 13-14, somewhere around there. I could see that as well. But we'll go the Saints just because I just think they have better talent, especially given the Patriots' injuries. Ravens, Steelers, I was surprised. I'm surprised about a lot of these lines. I'm surprised about teams that are underdogs that should be favorites. It's not the case here, but I'm surprised that it's a little low here. But at the same time, it's in Pittsburgh. They're tough to play in Pittsburgh. And these AFC North battles are always battles. Like, no matter who's on the field, they're battles and they stay close. So I guess that explains the 4-point spread. But, man, it's going to be Trubisky as the Steelers are struggling. They rely on pass rush. They have weapons, but they can't get them going because the lack of quarterback play, and Pickett's been struggling, but I think Trubisky's going to be even worse, I'd imagine. The Ravens' defense is really, really solid. Lamar's playing very well right now. He could be under pressure, but they'll find ways around it to do enough. I like them scoring 20 points. I like the Steelers scoring 13. I don't really see any more. So a 7-point victory for the Baltimore Ravens, 20-13 final, and covering that -4. Eagles and Rams could be a really good game. This could be a trap game for the Eagles. Usually we say trap, though. It's like a good team versus kind of a bad team. The Rams are a pretty good team. So, but they could be getting Cooper Kupp back. He wants to play. We'll see if he does. That just boosts them that much more. And I know there's a little bit of a game plan out there for Cooper Kupp, but not with the current, not with Puka Nacua. How they're going to use both these guys the way they're using Tutu Atwell. How are they going to use them? And then Cooper Kupp is just a dominant slot receiver. And the Eagles have been beat up there. They just signed Bradley Roby, who's a good slot corner, but they just brought him in. How's it going to be? How's he going to mesh with this defense? If he has to play, they're probably going to keep it. They're probably going to keep it simple, so the defense on the same page. So just continue to run man coverage, which. It would be very simple for the Rams to beat. The more I'm talking, the more I'm thinking this upset could happen. The Eagles' defense has been struggling in the secondary. These pass rushers are winning. They're winning right now. But I think the Rams can air it out on them, kind of like the Commanders did. But the Eagles' offense is still very, very successful. It's very, very high powered. They can win in every way, really. So they will have success in this game. They score when it matters. And their defensive line, even though I think their defense could struggle overall, their defensive line will get pressure on Matt Stafford. They will. They definitely will, and that could create a turnover or two and could be the difference. So I don't want to overthink it too much because usually it's that simple. Like, you got an explosive offense, one of the best in football with the Philadelphia Eagles, and their pass rush will beat the Rams' offensive line, and it could create turnovers. So that kind of makes it simple. But, again, the Rams will be explosive on offense. Cooper Kupp factor could come into play here. I like the Eagles winning, but as you can tell, I think it could go either way in L.A. here. So plus 4.5 seems like a little bit, just a little bit. So I'll take the Rams against the spread. And, again, we will talk about all my against spread picks at the end here. Bengals, Cardinals, extremely tough one to pick. I wouldn't touch it. But I'm going to go with the Bengals right on the 3, and I'll make an against the spread pick at the end, even though I have a push here. But, yeah, it's a tough one because the Cardinals, you can argue, are playing better ball than the Bengals right now. The Bengals are playing pretty bad, and the Cardinals are tough for everybody. And at home, you'd think they might be able to handle the Bengals, who are struggling, who are limited because Joe Burrow feels like he's limited because of the injury. So the Cardinals could win this game. I'm going to go with the Bengals. I think kind of a Week 5 comes in. It is Week 5, but I think kind of a Week 5, classic Week 5 kind of comes into play here where, people always base things off the first, few weeks, and that ends up being, not like firm how teams are. And the Bengals should be much better than the Cardinals. So that could kind of show in the time of the year where teams really show their true identities. So, and the Bengals really had struggles last week because the Titans really aren't a heavy blitz team, but they were. They had a great game plan for the Bengals, and it really threw them off. The Cardinals are definitely not a heavy blitz team. I think Gannon coaches a solid defense, but they don't blitz much at all. I don't know if they're like the Titans they're capable of switching that up because of all the talent they have. The Cardinals do not have that talent. So if they switch it up, it actually could hurt them even, and they don't have that blitz to cause a problem. And I think the Bengals receivers will get separation this game. I like the Bengals. They just have much better talent. But it will stay close. The Cardinals play teams tough. They play teams very close. So 23-20 Bengals is what I have. Next, we got the Jets and the Broncos. A shocker to me on the line here, the spread of the Broncos being favored by 2. I have the Jets winning. I love the matchup for the Jets. A tough place to play usually, even though the Broncos don't have a win. But it was the first 2 games. You can't base a whole lot off those usually when it comes to any team. So they're back at home, Mile High. So it is maybe a tough place to play for this Jets team. You know, they got to go across the country after playing on Sunday night. So that could be it, I suppose. But I just love the matchup for the Jets because the Jets have one of the top defenses in football. They showed it against the Bills. They showed it against the Chiefs. They showed it against the Patriots. The Cowboys scored a lot of points. The Cowboys are very good, but I think it was mainly because their defense. They gave their offense really good field position because the Cowboys do have one of the better defenses in football. So the Jets defense is playing like what we expected the Jets defense to play. The Broncos offense it's not their problem. It's not the problem. You know, they can move the ball. They're not the best. They're still not the best offense in the world, and they're playing against a very good defense. I'm confident with the Jets defense at least slowing down the Broncos offense. So that hence the 17 points. And the Jets offense is kind of their own problem, but it did get going last week against a Chiefs defense that has been pretty good this year. So, you know, and I don't want to base too much off that because they got going last week means they're going to continue to get going. But the Broncos defense looks like the very worst in football right now. It really does. And they'll get Justin Simmons back, which is huge, but he's usually a single high type guy, like deep downfield coverage-wise. The Jets will run the football. They will get Breece Hall going in this game. They'll dink and dunk. They'll get Zach Wilson out in space. The Broncos defense is just struggling too much right now. The Jets will move the ball. They will score. It's not going to be a shit ton, but they will do it. So I love the matchup for the Jets. The matchup says Jets. Tough to play away in Denver, I suppose, but I like the Jets 24-17. Nathaniel Hackett gets revenge in this one, I think. So we'll see. I'm surprised about that line, but we'll see. Next, Chiefs-Vikings. This matchup definitely favors the Chiefs. It could say shootout, though. The Vikings offense is explosive. They just can't turn the ball over. I got a national alert. That scared the absolute shit out of me. I'm not even reading it. That thing always gets me for some reason. The Chiefs, I don't know where I left off. Chiefs 31, Vikings 24. The Chiefs, we know they'll score. The Vikings turnovers. They continue to do it every single week. And I don't really trust them not to turn the ball over. If they don't turn the ball over, they could win the game. But I still don't think they win the game. But they'll have some moments on offense. 24 points for them. But the Chiefs will get going. They played the Jets defense last week. Far better than the Vikings. The Vikings defense looked pretty good last week. They played the Panthers, but why did the Vikings defense look good? Blitz. They are actually a very good blitzing defense. Even though the defense isn't good, they're a very good blitzing defense, but Mahomes makes you pay for blitzing them. So the Vikings either can't blitz and they'll still get beat, or they'll blitz and they'll get beat. You know, I think they got to stick what they do, and that is blitz, but the Chiefs will score. They will score a lot of points in this game. I got them covering to 4. I got them winning by 7. But the Vikings maybe could keep up. Maybe it's just a crazy back and forth shootout here. That would be pretty awesome. Like if they got both teams even were above the 31, I could see it. I'm not going to predict it, but I can see it. So we'll see. Sunday night football is going to be a good one. It's not one that I would put money on really with that line. It's really tricky. I can see the Cowboys winning, because neither of these teams seen each other or like anything really like each other. They've both been very good this year, but they both kind of been on the softer schedule, I suppose. But in San Francisco Sunday night, they're playing with the best team in football, so it's pretty much tough to go against the Niners right now. I still think the Cowboys missing Diggs. It could be big in games like this. So another reason to go Niners. If this isn't Dallas, I would actually probably pick the Cowboys. I think they could win this game. That pass rush is ridiculous. It could be something that Purdy just is not used to. He has how many of these pass rushes? And he saw the Cowboys last year. But how many times has he seen a pass rush like this? So it could be, in his career. So that could be something. That definitely could be something. The Cowboys got a solid offense as well. But the Niners look like the best team in football. I'm going to roll with them. 24-20, I think a lot of running clock, a lot of defense, so that's the reason for the score. But it's definitely not one I would put money on. In terms of the spread, it's going to be really tight. And then Monday night, I like the Packers 23, the Raiders 20. So the Packers over the Raiders. They're favored by 1. And this could go either way. It's in Vegas on Monday night. That kind of gives the Raiders advantage. I think Garoppolo will be back. I think Devontae Adams could have a big game, like a revenge game for him. And I think Josh Jacobs could have a solid game if they finally get the run game going. But he was effective through the air as well. And that's the thing, because I think that the best players in this game, I think will actually be on the Raiders side. I think it'll be Max Crosby getting after Jordan Love. The way Hutchinson did last week, maybe more. Josh Jacobs could have a good game. Devontae Adams could have that revenge game. So I think like the star players in this game will mainly be from the Raiders. So that kind of makes it tough to pick against the Raiders. But I think the Packers have overall more success as a team in this game. They are the far better defense. Not that they have the greatest defense in the world, but they are a far better defense. Again, I said Max Crosby will have a day. I think Rashawn Gary will have a day. The Raiders' offense line's been struggling the last couple weeks. Rashawn Gary's been playing like one of the better pass rushers in football. He's not quite Max Crosby. But he's not too far off, really. So we'll see if Alexander's back. That could help them as well. The Packers just got a better defense. Kenny Clark will have a monster game too. He'll dominate those interior guards. So I like the Packers defense more, and the Packers offense. It's still a little. Like the Raiders have more of the stars, but the Packers offense it's still a little like, what are we going to get from it? But the Raiders defense is. You can pretty much do anything on it. You got to worry about Max Crosby, but if you want to run the ball, you'll probably be able to run the ball. If you want to throw the ball, you'll probably be able to throw the ball. And the Packers have a number, they don't have like an elite weapon. They have Aaron Jones, who's maybe close to that, and I think he'll go off in this game a little more healthier than last week. But again, the Packers don't have like that elite weapon, but they have a collection of guys that you do have to worry about where they can kind of distribute the ball. And against a weaker defense, I think they'll come into play here. So I think the stars will be out in this game. I think they could take over, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander if he plays, and the Raiders, Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. I think the stars will carry these teams. I think the Packers just have a little bit more of a team. So that is the reason I'm going with them. 23-20. And then we'll take a look at my against the spread picks. We are 38-23 on the year, which has been pretty damn good. And we'll do our best bets and locks in our next video. If I have updates, quite a bit of score changes against the spread changes, like more than one, more than a few, I can make another video. We did that 1 week. It's not always a guarantee, so something to look out for. Turn notifications on. But against the spread picks for week 5, I have the Commanders covering the 5.5 against the Bears. They really should. They're better. They're home Thursday night, and the matchup definitely favors them. Could the Bears pull out some, change their offense like they did during the year last year? I don't see it, but could. But I really think the Commanders cover that. The Jags have an advantage because the London situation, being able to stay there. So I felt comfortable, and they're a good team. So I felt comfortable, going with the 5.5, even though I think the Bills should win the game. Texans +2. The Texans should be favored in that game. The Falcons could win with the run, but Texans should be favored. +2. The Lions, far better than the Panthers. Matchup favors them. They're going to run the shit out of the ball, which could drain some clock, which I guess could limit, how much more you score than the other team, but they should cover that 9. The Titans-Colts line was interesting. It was even, then it was Colts by 1, now it's Titans by 1. So it's pretty much whoever you have winning the game. I have the Titans winning the game by 3. I wouldn't touch it. It'll be close either way. But it could really go either way. The Dolphins -11. I usually stay away from the big spreads, but the Dolphins should cover that. Big home field advantage in Miami in the Heat. Matchup favors them. They're much better than the struggling Giants. They should cover. I have kind of a rule for myself to not bet that big of a spread. Even though it's appealing for this in this case. If you do an alternate spread, drop it down a little bit. It depends on how far. If you want to go, I mean, they definitely would cover the 6.5. I would assume, but that's pretty far down there. Saints +1. I think they'll win. They're very similar to the Patriots. It's in New England, but the Patriots are beat up, and the Saints have just more talent, in the spots that the Patriots do not. But probably one I wouldn't touch. Ravens -4. It almost seems like a trap, like an AFC North battle is why the line is that low, but they should cover that 4. Rams, I really think could win. I picked the Eagles, but I really thought about that one. I could see the Rams winning that game. So, of course, I'll go +4.5 for the Rams. It is a little tricky of one, I guess, because the Eagles, why that one's tricky is because the Eagles' defensive line it could be like the Bengals, like how the Bengals, like in the second half, dominated the Rams. Like Stafford couldn't do a thing. So the Eagles' defensive line could do that. That could be a possibility. And maybe why don't go Rams +4.5, even though I do like them +4.5. And the rest of the games here, the Cardinals +3. I actually had that one as a push, 23-20. But the Cardinals have a shot to win the game, and it's pretty much a guarantee they'll keep this one close because it's what they do. So if I'm picking against the spread, again, it's a game I wouldn't touch, obviously, but I would, even though I have a push and I have the Bengals winning, picking against the spread, I really don't hesitate to go with the Cardinals getting the points there. The Jets +2 I love. The matchup favors them. We explained it. The matchup definitely. Even if they lose the game, I'm going to be like, it's a fact. The matchup favors them. Doesn't mean they're guaranteed to win. I like them getting 2 points. I'm surprised they are underdogs. Chiefs -4. It doesn't seem high enough. It's almost seems like a trap. Like, what does Vegas know here? Because I know the Vikings could score, but Chiefs should have a bounce back offensive performance here. 49ers -3.5. I had them winning by 4. I would not touch that one. And the Packers Raiders, I would probably stay away from as well. I have the Packers winning by a field goal. I'd probably stay away from that one. But there are some that I definitely do like. There's some couple of those -4 spreads, Chiefs and Ravens. It's like, why is that so low? It makes you think. Love the Jets as an underdog. We'll have my best bets / locks video with some parlay options, and that'll be the next video, which goes up somewhat earlier on Thursday. So you can check that out once it's up. But join us for all of our content. We have a long list of it every single week, and we're always adding more. So hopefully you can join us for that. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Check out those links pinned in the comments, recent videos, giveaway, sponsors, pick leagues, Twitter. Very important to follow. It's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.